His divine grace, Abhay Charanaravinda, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Vallabha ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki jai, Shri Shri Radhastami Mahotsav ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, Chapter 4, The Confidential Reasons for the Lord's Appearance. Text 83. Devi, Krishnamayi, Prokta, Radhika, Paradevata, Sarva, Lakshmi, Mayi, Sarva, Kantihi, Sammohini, Para. Devi Krishnamayi Prokta, Radhika Paradevata, Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva, Kanti Sammohini Para. Devi Krishnamayi Prokta, Radhika Paradevata, Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva, Kanti Sammohini Para. Devi Krishnamayi Prokta, Radhika Paradevata, Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva, Kanti Sammohini Para. Devi Krishnamayi Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva Kanti Samohini Para
Devi Krishnamayi Prokta
Devi Krishnamayi Prokta
Radhika Paradevata
Radhika Paradevata
Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva
Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva
Kanti Sammohini Para
Kanti Samohini Para Devi Krishnamayi Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva Kanti Samohini Para Devi Krishnamayi Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva Kanti Samohini Para Devi, one who shines brilliantly, Krishnamayi, non-different from Lord Krishna, Prokta, called, Radhika, Srimati Radharani, Paradevata, most worshipable, Sarva Lakshmi Mayi, presiding over all the goddesses of fortune, Sarva Kantihi, in whom all splendor exists, Sammohini, whose character completely bewilders Lord Krishna, Para, the superior energy. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. Just a one-line purport. This text is from the Brihad Gautamiya Tantra. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Svarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajeshwatanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargenaya Kalpita Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matamidam Tatradara Naparaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Today is the all-auspicious day of the appearance of Srimati Radharani in Vrindavan. Devotees give more importance to Radharani than to Krishna. Therefore, in Vrindavan, as Srila Prabhupada says, everybody says Radhe Radhe. They don't say Krishna Krishna. And on the trees, you will find Jai Shri Radhe. Of course, everybody loves Krishna in Vrindavan, at least the genuine Brajavasis do. But Srimati Radharani is inseparable from Krishna. They are non-different. And Srimati Radharani's personality is very difficult to fathom. Her identity is also difficult to understand. In the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada begins the introduction by saying, when people see the deity or the picture of Radha and Krishna, they immediately ask, who is Krishna? And who is the girl standing next to Krishna? So who is the girl standing next to Krishna? It is Radharani. Now, in this day and age, when there is a lot of egalitarian philosophy going around, where people are wanting equality in every respect, and where even when it comes to God, people ask, why does God have to be a man? This actually happened to me one time. I don't tire of repeating this. In a train journey, there was a lady who happened to be sitting next to me. And then I was reading one of Prabhupada's books, and there was a picture of Krishna on that. So this lady, who I later found out was a professor in some college, she said, why does God have to be a man? And I realized that she was in an aggressive mood. So discretion is the better part of valor. So I decided not to take up the volume route. So I said, madam, it's not my fault. what can I do? God is what He is. I haven't made God to be whatever He is. He is what He is. But then I went on to explain, then actually, you see, if you're willing to listen, I can explain. She said, yes, okay. You see, Krishna is a supreme absolute truth. The absolute truth is He who contains within Himself all possible dualities and opposites. All apparent contradictions are reconciled or resolved within Him. For example, is God a person or is He impersonal? Most people say ultimately He is impersonal. There are a few who say He is only personal. But actually, if God is complete, if He is the complete whole, then He must be simultaneously personal as well as impersonal. How can there be something that we see in existence which does not exist in the Supreme Lord? So, if we see form in this world, then God must have form. But we also see formlessness. Therefore, formlessness must also be a part of the Absolute Truth. And indeed it is. But the formlessness comes from the form, inasmuch as the sunshine comes from the sun. So the Lord is simultaneously personal and impersonal. But the personal is the origin of the impersonal. And therefore, fundamentally, the Supreme Absolute Truth is personal, but He has an impersonal aspect. So then we come to the question similarly, is God masculine? Well, we see the masculine gender all over in the creation. So God must be masculine. But we also see the feminine gender. So then is the Lord feminine? He must be both masculine and feminine. But He accepts different personalities to embody these two. So as the supreme origin of everything, He is the supreme masculine, the supreme male, Krishna. And as Srila Prabhupada explains in one place, in His feminine form, He is Srimati Radharani. So, Srimati Radharani is the tender-hearted, feminine counterpart of the complete whole. And she represents the perfection of the feminine nature. This is what Srila Prabhupada says in one of his purports. So the absolute truth in the feminine aspect is Radharani. The absolute truth in the masculine aspect is Krishna. So Srimati Radharani and Krishna together comprise the complete absolute whole. So therefore, there is masculine gender and there is feminine gender, both in the absolute truth. But in this way, as Radha and Krishna. So Radha and Krishna are one, but yet they have separated themselves eternally as two for the sake of enjoying transcendental pastimes. So this is the mystery of God. It's not easy to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth unless we hear it from our Acharyas, like Srila Prabhupada, who has in crystal clear, simple terms explained to us who is Krishna, who is Radharani, and so on. We can also understand the masculine and feminine genders of the Absolute Truth in terms of the energetic and the energy. Inasmuch as there is the sun and there is sunshine, similarly there is energetic, there is energy. So Krishna is the supreme energetic and Srimati Radharani is the supreme energy of Krishna. She is the internal spiritual potency or the energy of Krishna. Just as there is no meaning to the sun without the sunshine, what good is the sun without sunshine? So similarly, there is incompleteness in the Supreme Lord if He doesn't have any energies. He's a supreme energetic. But if He doesn't have energies, what good is it being the energetic? So what good is it to have a bulb if it doesn't give any light? So the supreme energetic eternally lives or coexists with the supreme energetic, Srimati Radharani. And Sri Krishna enjoys transcendental pastimes with the internal energy. He manifests his spiritual energy, and the personification of that spiritual energy is Srimati Radharani. And then he engages in loving pastimes with her. So Krishna is not enjoying something outside of himself. He's not enjoying something that doesn't belong to him. And therefore, we see that Krishna is self-sufficient. Whenever he has any need, he expands his energies, he expands himself, and in this way he fulfills his desires. For us, we have to be dependent on something outside of ourselves for fulfillment. If we are hungry, we need some food which exists outside of ourselves, and then we eat it. We are thirsty, we need water which is outside of ourselves. We need love from somebody, we're looking for love from somebody else outside of ourselves. So for us, our search is external. But for Krishna, the search is within, because there's nothing outside of Krishna. So Srimati Radharani is not outside of Krishna. The gopis are not outside of Krishna. So when Krishna enjoys with the gopis, it is not like an ordinary man and woman relationship in this world, which is on the platform of matter, in which one person tries to enjoy something outside of himself or herself. On the absolute truth plane, on the plane of the absolute truth, there is oneness in quality. So therefore, the relationship between Srimati Radharani and Krishna, and in general between the gopis of Vrindavan and Krishna, is without blemish. It in fact constitutes the summum bonum, or the highest perfection of spiritual relationships ever possible. And there is the highest degree of spiritual bliss that manifests in both Krishna as well as the gopis, particularly Srimati Radharani, in this exchange of transcendental love between Krishna, the energetic, and the gopis, his energies. So this is the wonderful aspect of Radha and Krishna. We read today from the Adi Leela chapter 4, text 83. Let me read the translations of some of the verses previous to that and subsequent to that. So where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or rather Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami here, is explaining very succinctly and eloquently the position of Srimati Radharani. Quote, this is from text 74 of the chapter 4 of the Adi Leela. The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of three kinds: the goddesses of fortune, that is the Lakshmis, the queens, that is of Dwarka, and the milkmaids of Vraja, that is the gopis, who are the foremost of all. These consorts all proceed from Radhika. So just as there is the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord has many expansions, in all these expansions he has consorts. So the original consort of Krishna is Radharani, And she expands herself to become the consorts of all the expansions of Krishna. For example, in the Vaikuntha world, in every Vaikuntha planet, the Lord resides in his four-armed form as Lord Narayan. And he has a consort, his eternal consort, Lakshmi Devi. So all those forms of Narayan ultimately emanate from Krishna. They are his expansions, or expansions of his expansions. And their consorts are ultimately also emanating from Srimati Radharani. Similarly, in Dwarka, Krishna has 16,108 queens. Krishna expands himself to accompany each of these queens all the time. So these queens are also ultimately expansions of Krishna. And then the transcendental gopis in Vrindavan, the Nitya Siddhas, who eternally live there and assist Srimati Radharani in serving Krishna. So they are also expansions of Srimati Radharani as stated here in this verse. So I'll continue. Just as the fountainhead Lord Krishna is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all these consorts. The goddesses of fortune are partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. The goddesses of fortune are her plenary portions, and they display the forms of Vaibhava Vilas. The queens are of the nature of Vaibhava Prakash. We will not go into these technicalities right now. Continuing. The Vraja Devis have diverse bodily features. They are her expansions and the instruments for expanding rasa. Without many consorts, there is not such exaltation in rasa. Therefore, there are many manifestations of Srimati Radharani to assist in the Lord's pastimes. Among them are various groups of consorts in Braja who have varieties of sentiments and mellows. They help Lord Krishna taste all the sweetness of the rasa dance and other pastimes. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and end-all of Govinda, and the crest jewel of his consorts. And then the verse we just read today. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval, internal potency of Krishna. So Srimati Radharani then, being the eternal consort of Krishna and the eternal internal energy of Krishna, never is separated from Krishna. However, we find something that might seem very strange. In Vrindavan, is Radharani a householder? Is she a wife? What do you think? Is Radharani married to someone in Vrindavan? Who is she married to? Say it with more confidence. Who is the person? Name the person that Radharani is married to. Abhimanyu. Not Krishna? Also Krishna. How can that be? That sounds a little strange, doesn't it? So, Radharani has a so-called husband. Yes? His name is Abhimanyu. Not the Abhimanyu who is the son of Arjuna in the Mahabharata. And Abhimanyu has his mother who is called Jatila. She speaks very harsh words. Kutila, very crooked by nature. That is her Abhimanyu's sister. And in the pastimes of Vrindavan, Krishna and Radharani are forever trying to meet. But Radharani has to do a lot of tricks to escape from the hawk-like supervision of Jatila and Kutila. And Kutila and Jatila always trying to prevent Radharani from meeting Krishna. So this is the transcendental pastime. So it makes the pastimes of Radha and Krishna more exciting. And there are many, when you go to Vrindavan, you'll hear all these pastimes. There's all sorts of camouflage and disguise and subterfuge and conspiracy that goes on to make Krishna Leela very exciting. And so, Krishna finds the Madhurya Ras very relishable. It becomes even more relishable than in married life. We can't imitate that. Beware. Beware, beware. That is a perverted material reflection. This exists in its pure sublime state. So still, people who are not acquainted with the intricacies of devotional philosophy, they find fault with Krishna. Number one, because he has 16,108 queens in Dwarka. And our response is to that is, well, that's proof that he is God. Because it's very difficult to keep 16,108 queens perfectly satisfied in every respect. But even the Rasa Leela in Vrindavan, why does he dance with so many gopis? These gopis are his internal energy. And in one place Krishna says it's like a child playing with his shadow. Who can fault that? So these gopis are not something outside of Krishna. They represent his internal energy, so there is no fault here. And then there is the question of Srimati Radharani being married to somebody else, and then she comes with Krishna and has pastimes with her. She hides from her so-called husband, so-called mother-in-law and so-called sister-in-law, and runs away to have rendezvous with Krishna at different places. How does one explain that? Let's give a simple analogy. Let's say there is a couple, husband and wife. Now, very faithful couple, but they're also interested in doing dramas. They like participating in theater and drama and so on. So, in the drama, however, the wife has to play the role of somebody else's wife. Only in the drama. And she and this man, her real husband, is her paramour in the drama. Are you getting the picture? So what is the picture? There is a couple, husband and wife. They like drama. So when they play a certain drama, the husband is not married to the wife in the drama. The wife is married to somebody else. But she is carrying on with him. So she meets him, she runs away from her husband and meets sometime. So people may say, oh, how come the two are meeting? Well, that's drama. In real life, they're husband and wife. So even if they're meeting together, you see, it's all right. Because actually they're husband and wife. This is just a drama. So similarly, even though Radharani has a so-called husband, he's just that, a so-called husband. The real consort of Krishna is Radharani. They are eternally always together, always as a pair. When we say so-called, means that Abhimanyu has no contact with Srimati Radharani. Abhimanyu just imagines, Radharani is my wife. Similarly, Jatila and Kutila just imagine, Radharani is my daughter-in-law, my sister-in-law, and so on. And this goes on with all the other gopis too. Actually, Krishna is the only real husband of all the gopis from a transcendental point of view. And all that is going on in Vrindavan is Leela. It is a pastime of Krishna to make the Madhurya Rasa more relishable, more exciting. So that is called the Parakiya Rasa. Whereas in Dwarka you have what is called the Swakiya Rasa, which means the relationship of Madhurya Rasa within marriage. Again, we caution, we cannot imitate this, because in the material platform it is abominable. Yes? So anyway, this is how we can get a glimpse of the actual transcendental nature of Radharani and Krishna's pastimes. Actually, just to satisfy those people who may have objections, we see that Radharani actually gets married to Krishna in Braj, in a place called Bhaktivedanta. Have any of you been to, how many of you have never been to Vrindavan? Okay, only a few of you. So we hope you'll get a chance to go there very soon sometime. So one of the forests of Vrindavan is called Bhaktivedanta. And Brahma, the creator, the original Brahmana of the universe, he came one day and married Radha and Krishna. Actually what happened was that they were both playing their childhood pastimes at this time, Radharani as well as Krishna. And Nanda Maharaj was carrying Krishna in his arms, and Vrishabhanu Maharaj was carrying Srimati Radharani in his arms. And somehow at that time there was a fierce storm that broke out. They were at separate places and then they met there. And there was a beautiful transformation that took place. Radharani and Krishna both manifested their eternal youthful forms in the adolescent stage. Radharani is eternally about 13.5 years of age in the spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan. And Krishna is about 15 years of age, roughly. And they look eternally like that. So they were married off, and Brahma, consecrated the marriage, performed the marriage ceremony in Bhaktivedanta to satisfy anyone who may have any objections. But the point is, in Vrindavan, this eternal pastime continues, and Krishna and the gopis relish the transcendental rasa over here. Amongst all the gopis, however, Srimati Radharani is the best. It is explained that of all the lovers of Krishna, the Brajabasis are the best. Amongst all the Brajabasis, the gopis are the best. Amongst all the gopis, 16,000 are the best. Amongst those 16,108 are the best. Amongst those 108, 8 are the best. Among those 8, 2 are the best. Among those 2, 1 is the best. That is Srimati Radharani. Who are those? Who is the other one? Chandravali, who is the competitor of Srimati Radharani in Goloka Vrindavan. So Srimati Radharani is by far the greatest, the best gopi. And even though Krishna has so many gopis, unless Radharani is present with Krishna, Krishna is not satisfied. One time when the gopis left their homes in the middle of the night to run to Krishna, who was standing at Vanshi Vat on the banks of the Yamuna, playing his flute, Krishna tried to send them back by words of wisdom, worldly wisdom, and about the importance of doing their family duties and so on. And they resisted. And finally Krishna had some transcendental pastimes with them. And then Krishna disappeared. When Krishna disappeared, the gopis were distraught with grief. And they started searching for Krishna everywhere in the forests of Vrindavan, behind the trees, in the bushes. They were asking the trees, they were asking the peacocks, they were asking the deer and the birds, have you seen Krishna? They were exhibiting a stage of transcendental madness which cannot be comprehended by anybody unless that person has followed in the footsteps of these gopis and learned to love Krishna in that mood. Otherwise, it just seems like something that is quite strange. But this actually represents the highest stage of the love of Godhead. And then the gopis came across some footprints. That was Krishna's footprints, which they recognized. And also there was another set of footprints, and they understood that was Radharani's footprints. So in this way, they knew that Krishna had gone away with Srimati Radharani. One time, at this time when Krishna was with Radharani, he had left them, even Radharani he left actually. And he was hiding from the gopis. The gopis were searching for him, and Krishna was behind the bushes. The gopis came upon Krishna all of a sudden. And the gopis did not have, Krishna did not have the time to run away somewhere else. So all he could do was to disguise himself. So he disguised himself as his four-armed form of Lord Narayan. So when the gopis came, he was standing there in the four-armed form, carrying the conch, the club, the disc and the lotus, and offering his blessings. And the gopis came and they saw Lord Narayan and they offered their obeisances. Oh Lord Narayan, obeisances to you, but please tell us where is Krishna. So they were not concerned much with Narayan. They offered their respects and all that. They did their duty, but they were more concerned with Krishna. So please tell us where is Krishna. I don't know which of his four hands Krishna used to put. Krishna misdirected them and pointed them in some other way. Must have sent them off the track. So the gopis went away. But after that, Radharani came along. And when Radharani came, then in front of Radharani, Krishna could not maintain his camouflage. His two arms melted away. And Lord, in the form of Narayana, was, what happened to my two arms? They're gone. And the conch and the disc and the lotus and the club all disappeared. And then there was this flute that came on again. So he had to forcibly, display his original form in front of Radharani. He could not hold on to that disguise. That was the power of Srimati Radharani's devotion. And the place where this pastime happened is a place called Paitha. Paitha. It is near Govardhan, some distance away from Govardhan. There are two types of parikrama you do of Govardhan. One is the short one, which is right around. And there is a longer one, which Sri Sanatana Goswami used to do. That is much longer. It takes a couple of hours more. And then you go to many other pastime places, including Paitha. So this is where this particular pastime happened, at Paitha. How many of you have been to Jagannath Puri? And then on to Alarnath. Alarnath is a special place some distance away from Puri, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to go at the time just 15 days before the Rath Yatra, when Jagannath would not give darshan, where Jagannath would be sick and he would be treated with various herbal treatments and remedies, no antibiotics. Yes, he would get some herbal remedies. So Mahatma Prabhu, no work for you there. Unless you go as a devotee, not as a doctor. So that's the time when Mahaprabhu would go to Alalnath. In Alalnath, there is a deity of Vishnu. Alalnath means Alvarnath. Alvars are the great devotees of the Sri Sampradaya in the south. And they worship the Lord as Vishnu in the four-armed form. So the question arose in the doubts of many, in the minds of many, why is Mahaprabhu going to worship a four-armed form of Vishnu when he is such a devotee of Radha and Krishna? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur revealed the secret and said that actually the four-armed form of Narayan or Vishnu in Alalnath is actually the four-armed form that Krishna assumed when the gopis came searching for him. So it's actually a form of Krishna of Vrindavan. And when Mahaprabhu came there, he offered his obeisances, and because Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radharani, he is Krishna himself, the stone on which he lay to offer obeisances melted, and it bears the impressions of his chest and his toes. So you can still see those impressions today if you go to Alalnath in front of the deities. So this demonstrates the mood of Vrindavan and also the power of Srimati Radharani. Another question that comes up is, why is Srimati Radharani's name not directly mentioned in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam? And therefore, in some Vaishnava Sampradayas, they don't accept Srimati Radharani. They accept only Lakshmi and Narayan. So why don't they accept Radharani? They say because he's not in the Bhagavatam. However, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives an explanation for this. He says that Shukadev Goswami had to speak the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam for 7 days to King Parikshit. King Parikshit was short of time. He was cursed to die in 7 days and 7 nights. Now, Shukadev Goswami was actually a devotee of Radharani in the rasa of Vrindavan, of Braja. He is actually Srimati Radharani's pet parrot, who has come as Shukadev Goswami. The word Shuka means parrot. And when it is said that when a parrot tastes the fruit, then the fruit becomes even tastier. So the Bhagavatam is already tasty. And when Shukadev Goswami recites it, it becomes even more delicious. So anyway, had Shukadev Goswami mentioned the name of Radharani, he would have gone into a trance of ecstasy for days together. And what would have happened to poor Maharaj Parikshit? So Shukadev Goswami had a job to do. He had to make use of the time available to King Parikshit, which was a short time. And plus, he had to also attend to all the sages who had assembled there. So he could not even directly get to the Leela of Vrindavan. He had to give a prelude in 9 cantos, building up the point and building the narration up to the point where everybody understood that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Vrindavan Leela is the topmost of all Leelas. Because there were many other sages and others present who may have been Jnana Yogis, Ashtanga Yogis, etc. And so he had to take along all of these sages. And plus there was ultimately Maharaj Parikshit. So therefore, there was no way that Shukadev Goswami could go into a trance now. So he had to restrain himself and not speak the name of Srimati Radharani. However, indirectly, the name of Srimati Radharani appears in the 30th chapter of the 10th canto. Anaya radhito nunam bhagavan hari ishvaraha yanno vihaya govinda pritoyam anayat rahaha. So, in this verse, a very wonderful thing is declared. When the gopis found that Krishna had disappeared, and they found the second pair of footprints with Krishna's footprints, they were speaking, they were thinking like this. They were thinking, Anaya aradhitaha nunam bhagavan harir ishvaraha. So it seems that there is someone else who has worshipped Krishna more perfectly than we have. Anaya, by her, Aradhita, worshipped perfectly. So it looks like there is someone else who has worshipped Krishna more perfectly than us. Yanno vihaya Govindaha, which is why Govinda left us and went away with her. Prito yad anayat rahaha, and he has taken her to some solitary place. So the word aradhitaha indicates Radharani. The word aradhita means one who is worshipped, or aradhana means to worship. So from the word aradhana, Srila Prabhupada explains, comes the word Radha, meaning one who is the topmost worshipper of Krishna. So therefore we can see that Radharani's name has indeed been mentioned, but indirectly. And let's come now to the pastime of Srimati Radharani's birth in Braja. In Braj, as you know, Krishna cannot come without Radharani. When Krishna was in Goloka Vrindavan, or rather he is always existing in Vrindavan, he wanted to descend to the material world. He went to Srimati Radharani and said, "Will you please descend with me?" So she said, "Yes, of course, but I have my conditions." What are those conditions? Yamuna must be there also with us. Govardhan must be there with us, all right? So then he said, they're already there. They have already manifested before us to facilitate our pastimes. Then Radharani happily said yes. So they descended, but at slightly different times. When Radharani appeared, Krishna was already a little over a year old. And the manner of her appearance is also very wonderful. There was a friend of Nanda Maharaj, whose name was Vrishabhanu Maharaj. Just as Nanda Maharaj was the lord of Gokul, Vrishabhanu Maharaj was the lord of Raval, a place called Raval. Raval and Gokul are very close by. So Krishna was born in Gokul. Of course, from Mathura he was transferred to Gokul. And Radharani was born in Raval, which were close by. Because Nanda Maharaj and Vrishabhanu Maharaj were close friends, so they wanted to be with each other, next to each other, so they could meet each other often. So in Raval, Raval by the way means landlord, or the king. So Vrishabhanu Maharaj was the king of that area. One time he went to the Yamuna, and he was astonished to see that there was a beautiful large golden lotus flower. And this lotus flower was extraordinary in itself. But it was even more extraordinary because on the whirl of the lotus flower was an exceptionally beautiful little baby girl who was golden complexioned. So being struck with wonder, Vrishabhanu Maharaj, who was childless and wanted a child anyway, waded up to that lotus and lifted that baby in his arms. And at that time, Brahma, the creator, appeared before him and said, "O Vrishabhanu Maharaj, both you and your wife Kirtida Devi, in your previous life, performed many austerities to get the consort of the Supreme Lord as your child, as your daughter. Therefore, to bless you and the whole world, she has now appeared before you. Please take her carefully and look after her very nicely." So, being overjoyed, Vrishabhanu Maharaj lifted the baby and went back and gave the baby to his wife and explained the situation. So Kirtida Devi was extremely happy as well. And then they were thinking, but this baby seems a little strange. they saw that the baby was not opening her eyes. So they were thinking, oh, is she blind? And this baby was not speaking anything. And they began to doubt, is she dumb also? She is extremely beautiful, but she can't see, she can't speak, and it appears she can't hear. Oh, so they had mixed feelings. On one hand, they had this beautiful child, they had been longing for a child for many, many years, and they finally got a child. And not only that, this child was extraordinarily beautiful, but on the other hand, the child didn't speak, didn't see, didn't hear. So they were thinking, we don't know, maybe we shouldn't spread the word about this because it'll be so embarrassing for us. So let's just keep it a secret. And we'll keep this child to ourselves and look after her and see what happens. They already had a son. Actually, I shouldn't have said childless. They had a son. The son was Sridhama, who was Srimati Radharani's older brother, who was a friend of Krishna, similar in age to Krishna. So now Narad Muni, of course, he has to enter into the picture. Wherever there is any issue, Narad Muni is always there to facilitate the Lord's transcendental pastimes and to make them sweeter. So Narad Muni had been present at Krishna's appearance, and he had witnessed it all. And he had a crucial role to play in Krishna's appearance and in hastening that appearance, as you know. He had encouraged Kamsa to kill the children of Devaki. When the most unlikely thing was about to happen, where Kamsa was showing signs of becoming compassionate. After Vasudeva had handed over his first child to him. But Narad Muni came and said, no, that's a mistake. Kamsa was saying, but it's only the 8th child of Krishna, of Devaki, that is destined to kill me. So Narad Muni said, oh, beware. This mathematics is tricky business. You have 8, the 8th child, but counting from where? Counting from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, or counting from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 8th child, but starting from where? So Kamsa was put in a quandary. Oh my God, yes. So the last child could be the one, or the first child could be the one. So then he said, might as well kill everybody. So why did Narad Muni do this? Because he wanted Krishna to appear quickly and relieve the burden of the earth. So in any case, Narad Muni had a role to play in Krishna's appearance. He was overjoyed when Krishna actually appeared. So he knew that once that Krishna has appeared, Radharani must also be there somewhere. So he came after a year. He was searching actually everywhere. And he was going to every Brajabasi's home in disguise and asking, have you got a recently born daughter? A recently born child? And they would say, yes, we've got a son recently born. So they said, okay, congratulations, he would go away. Somebody said, I've got a daughter. Said, yeah, let me see. So he would come inside and realize it was an ordinary daughter. Okay, congratulations, he would go away. So like this, any time there was a birth, Narad Muni would be there. And he would come and check. But no, it wasn't Radharani. Finally he came to Vrishabhanu Maharaj's house. And he said, have you gotten a newly born child here recently? Well, I've got Sridhama. Oh, that's your son, he is older. Any more recent deliveries? So they were hesitant. She can't see, she can't speak and all that. But Narad Muni said, please tell me. So how could he lie to Narad Muni? He said, yes, we have a daughter. But we are very sad. Why are you sad? She doesn't speak, she can't see, she doesn't hear. Never mind, show me this girl. Then when Narad Muni came in front of her, Then he was stunned in ecstasy. He could understand, this is Radharani. And he told Vrishabhanu Maharaj, can you please leave the room and let me be alone with this, because I have to chant some prayers to bless this girl. So Vrishabhanu Maharaj went out of the room, and Narad Muni was there, and he understood. He still wanted to confirm. He wanted to confirm that this is Radharani. He knew it, but he wanted that confirmation. And he started offering prayers to Radharani. And then she manifested her Kishori, Nitya Kishori Roop, her eternal adolescent form at the age of 13.5 years old. Such beauty, indescribable beauty that is not possible for anyone to even imagine. Narad Muni saw this form and he could not bear it. He fainted. He had never before seen such beauty except Krishna's beauty. But this was even more beautiful than Krishna. And he collapsed and he fainted. And then Radharani gently brought him to external consciousness. So, Narad Muni, anything to say? Nothing to say. Nothing to say. So he didn't have a word. He was just quiet. And he quietly walked out of the room. And Vrishabhanu Maharaj was trying to talk to him, but he was in no mood to talk. And he walked away to Govardhan Hill. He sat at a place near one lake that's now called Narad Kunda. And he sat there and meditated on this, on the form of Radharani. Sometime there also, I think he wrote the Narada Bhakti Sutras and so on. And so now that she has shown mischievously, she had teased Narad Muni like that. Now the time came, and Narad Muni actually encouraged Vrishabhanu Maharaj, don't worry about the child not being able to see and speak and all that. You should celebrate the birth ceremony in a grand way. So then Vrishabhanu Maharaj publicized the news of Radharani's birth everywhere in Braj. And he invited everybody. And on the appointed day, all the Brajavasis came there. There was a very festive atmosphere. They all came with their families, singing songs and chanting and so on. They were joining in the celebrations. Naturally, Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda also came because they were very dear friends of Vrishabhanu Maharaj and Kirtida Devi. And they came with Krishna and Balaram, of course. So when they came there, then Vrishabhanu Maharaj confided in Nanda Maharaj. You know, this child is very beautiful, but she doesn't speak, she doesn't see, she doesn't hear. Nanda Maharaj said, never mind, just see how beautiful she is anyway. Meanwhile, Krishna had been crawling here and there. He was only a year old. He had not yet started walking. So he was crawling around, his mother had left him on the floor, so he was crawling and he went into Radharani's room. And she was in her pram, cradle. So Krishna caught hold of it and started pulling himself up to his feet. Still not strong enough to stand on his own feet without support. So keeping the cradle as a support, he stood up and peered into the cradle, and then he looked at Radharani, who was in her baby form. And that was what Radharani had been waiting for. Because the very first thing or person she wanted to see when she appeared in this world was Krishna. So the moment Krishna came in front of her, she opened her eyes. And then Krishna was trying to speak something in his broken language, and she was hearing. And then she started crying. And she started, meaning that some sound came out from her mouth. And upon hearing the sound of the crying of this girl, which they had never heard till now, because she had refused to open her mouth and speak anything, even cry. The baby was not even crying till this point. And now when they heard this baby crying, then Vrishabhanu Maharaj and Kirtida Devi and everybody came rushing in. And they saw the baby Radharani with baby Krishna. They were overjoyed. Now this girl could see, she could hear, she could speak. So then the celebration went on with full earnest. Everybody in Vrindavan, in Brajabhumi, was chanting the glories of Radharani and Krishna and so on. So naturally this is still celebrated today. And later when when Nanda Maharaj moved to Vrindavan and eventually to Nandagram, Vrishabhanu Maharaj also moved eventually to Barsana. Because Barsana was close to Nandagram. He wanted to be close to Nanda Maharaj. Just as Raval was close to Gokul, Barsana was close to Nandagram. So then he moved there. So Radharani grew up there, just as Krishna grew up in Nandagram. Radharani grew up in Barsana. Many of you who have been to Brajabhumi may have visited Barsana as well. And then she was married off, and she was married and lived in the house of her so-called husband in a place called Yavat, which is also in between Barsana and Nandagram. So these pastimes happened there. So there are many, many more things which you can hear when you go to Vrindavan. And for us as devotees, can we have the nectar of devotion please from there? I think I'll read a little section from that. What is the importance of Srimati Radharani for us as devotees? You know, there are 6 qualities of Uttama Bhakti, of first-class devotion, that Srila Rupa Goswami speaks about in the Nectar of Devotion. Do you remember what those 6 are? So, it'll fill in time till I get my voice back. Yes. What's the first of the 6 characteristics? Klesha Gani, those of you who are Bhakti Shastris, how many of you have done Bhakti Shastri here? Klesha Gani destroys all one's miseries. Second, Shubhada bestows all auspiciousness. Third, Moksha Laguta Krit, it makes even liberation appear insignificant. Fourth, Sudurlabha, it is extremely rare. Fifth, Sandrananda Visheshatma, Krishna consciousness is the most intense, condensed bliss, transcendental bliss. And the 6th one? Shri Krishna Akarshini. Bhakti is the one that can attract Krishna. Nothing else can attract Krishna except bhakti, except pure devotion. So when Srila Prabhupada is speaking about the 6th quality of Shri Krishna Akarshani, or the power of bhakti to attract Krishna, here is what he says. So please listen carefully. Srila Rupa Goswami has stated that devotional service attracts even Krishna. Krishna attracts everyone, but devotional service attracts Krishna. The symbol of devotional service in the highest degree is Radharani. Can you repeat that after me? The symbol of devotional service. The symbol of devotional service in the highest degree. In the highest degree is Radharani. Is Radharani. Okay, thank you. Krishna is called Madan Mohan, which means that he is so attractive that he can defeat the attraction of thousands of cupids. But Radharani is still more attractive, for she can even attract Krishna. Therefore, devotees call her Madana Mohan Mohani, the attractor of the attractor of Cupid. To perform devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of Radharani. And devotees in Vrindavan put themselves under the care of Radharani in order to achieve perfection in their devotional service. In other words, devotional service is not an activity of the material world. It is directly under the control of Radharani. In Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the Mahatmas or great souls are under the protection of Devi Prakriti, the internal energy, Radharani. So being directly under the control of the internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attracts even Krishna himself. So very important quote. Please read this again today when you go back home from Nectar of Devotion, page 15 and 16. So Srimati Radharani is the personification of devotional service. She is the original reservoir of pure devotion for Krishna, the ultimate perfection of love of Krishna. And she is this internal energy, Devi Prakriti, whom the Mahatmas or the great souls take shelter of. And as Prabhupada explains here, devotees in Vrindavan take shelter of the lotus feet of Radharani to progress in their devotional service. So this is the understanding. In one place, in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada says that if Srimati Radharani recommends somebody to Krishna, oh Krishna, here is a nice devotee, then Krishna will have to give shelter to that devotee, as Prabhupada says, even if he's fool number one. Because Radharani has recommended. You know, just like when you go to a big person, you go through some reference, you know. Someone knows him, please meet such and such a person because he's known to me. So then that big person agrees to meet you. So similarly, when you want to go to Krishna, you need some recommendation. So Radharani's recommendation is crucial. So we pray to Radharani, please Radharani, recommend me to Krishna. You know, so this influence and all that works everywhere. It's required everywhere. This pull and networking and contacts and all that, you know, it's happening in the spiritual world. You have to develop the contact with Srimati Radharani through her representatives, the Guru Parampara and the Vaishnava community. Then we pray for Radharani's mercy, especially on this day, on her birthday. We pray that we may get even a tiny atomic drop of the devotion that she has in her heart for Krishna, so that our life may become perfect. When we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the word Hare indicates Srimati Radharani. Because Hari, Krishna, takes away the inauspicious things in our heart, he is called Hari. Har means to take away. Hari is one who takes away everything inauspicious from our heart. Sarva amangala hare iti hari. Also premadiya manahare iti hari. This is how Mahaprabhu has explained it. So he also steals our heart by giving us Krishna prem. So therefore he is called Hari, the stealer of the heart, the chitta chor. But Radharani is the one who steals the heart of Hari. So she is called Hara. And when you address Hara, it's Hare. O Hara. It is O, then becomes Hare. In Sanskrit, you know, when you address Ganga, you say Hey Gange or Hey Narmade. So like that, when you call Radha, you say Radhe. They say Radhe Radhe in Vrindavan. So Hara becomes Hare. So Hare Krishna is Radha Krishna. So when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we are chanting O Krishna, O internal energy of Krishna, Srimati Radharani, please give us eternal shelter and engage us in your service eternally. That is the meaning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra that we chant. So when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra and when we come in front of the deities of Radha Vallabha, we should pray to her for this benediction of being always engaged in her service and Krishna's service, and to be able to spread this message of devotion everywhere and make our life perfect. Srimati Radharani ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Vallabha ki jai, Shri Radhastami Maha Mahotsava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hare Krishna. I know it's 10 o'clock, but I'd just like to chant one small song, which is chanted. This is a very famous song of Srila Rupa Goswami, and I'm sure most of you have heard it, but it is a must to chant this song on this day. Radhe Jai Jai Madhava Daite. So it's up on the screen for those of you who don't know the words. It's from Stavamala of Srila Rupa Goswami. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. 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 Gokula Taruni Mandala Mohite. Gokula Taruni Mandala Mohite. Gokula Taruni Mandala Mohite. Gokula Taruni Mandala Mohite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. 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 Damodara Rati Vardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Vipineshe. Damodarati Vardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Vipineshe. Damodarati Vardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Vipineshe. Damodarati Vardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Vipineshe. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. 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 Vrishabhanudadhi Navashashi Lekhe Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Vishakhe. Vrishabhanudadhi Navashashi Lekhe Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Vishakhe. Vrishabhanudadhi Navashashi Lekhe Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Vishakhe. Vrishabhanudadhi Navashashi Lekhe Lalita Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Kaite 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 Karunam Kuru Mai Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Karunam Guru Mai Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Kaite 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 Hare Krishna. Thank you. Shri Radhastami ki Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.